Hi everyone, and welcome to another Self-Care Saturday. I'm Lauren, an associate librarian at the Hidden Springs branch of Ada Community Library. And today, I want to talk to you about some of my favorite self-care books. So, there are a ton of really great books out there to help with your self-care. And I wanted to go through some of my favorites. So there are a lot. So at the end, I will have several slides with all of these books and their titles and their authors. And these are all available in if you live in the Treasure Valley in Idaho, they're available through the libraries here. And if you don't live in the Treasure Valley in Idaho, I'm pretty sure you can find a lot of these books through your local library. So just check there. So first, what I'm going to do is go through my favorite books about mental health and caring for your mental health, because I think caring for your mental health is like the most important part of self-care. So I'm going to go through some really great books that I found for mental health tips, and even like some memoirs about just people who are dealing with their mental health struggles. So the first one is called Everything is an Emergency, an OCD story in pictures and words. It is by Jason Adam Katzenstein, and it is a really funny book, but it's also really poignant. He goes through his diagnosis with OCD, how OCD makes him feel. He does it through a lot of illustrations and pictures, and I think it's just a really important a really great book to read, even if you don't suffer from OCD, but maybe you just suffer from a lot of anxieties. I think it's really important to read about other people who are experiencing similar things and realizing, oh my God, that's how I feel about this. This is why this makes me feel like that. And realizing there are other people who are going through the same things is very important, especially when it's done in a really kind of humorous and interesting way. So this is a really good one. All right, and this is one of my favorite mental health books. It is called Are You Okay? A Guide to Caring for Your Mental Health, How to Know If You Need Help and Where to Find It, by Katie Morton. And this is a really good book. It has a lot of questions and answers to some really important mental health questions. I mean, some of them are just simple. How do I know if I need help? Warning signs to look for. Art and music therapy it discusses preparing for your first therapy appointment. I mean, there's just so many good things in this book. I recommend it. Highly recommend this one. If you're dealing with any kind of mental health issues, and quite frankly, I think most of us at some point in our lives are dealing with some kind of mental health struggles. So this is a really good one for just asking yourself, how am I doing? Here's some resources to help. This is a really great book. Okay, this one's another really funny one. It's called Barely Functioning Adult. It'll all make sense eventually, by Mitch Eaton. She's a comic. It's, I think, based on a comic she started in 2015, but it's really funny. It's about becoming an adult, dealing with all kinds of mental health issues, but she's done it in a really fantastic way with really fantastic and funny illustrations. And here she talks about, going to therapy for the first time, how she thought it would fix everything, and then how she started to stress about how, what am I going to talk about? All of my issues are in these perfectly little jars that are all arranged, and I can't let anyone else open my jars of all my problems, so they'll mess them up, and how am I going to talk to my therapist about that and stuff like that. It's so funny, it's so relatable, and if you want to deal with adults, being an adult, dealing with your mental health, and you want to do it in a really funny and interesting way, this is a really great book. I love this book. Okay, here is another really good book. It's called The Healthy Mind Toolkit: Simple Strategies to Get Out of Your Own Way and Enjoy Your Life, by Alice Boyes. This one's really fun. This one is has more like experiments and tricks and things for you to try, for you to be a more healthy and happier person. I haven't tried all of these, but there's some fun ones, like what to do when you feel anxious, when you're procrastinating, when you are angry, how you can recognize barriers in your life, and self-sabotaging behavior, and all kinds of things like that. So this one's pretty good. I haven't read through this one completely, but so far I really like it. So the Healthy Mind Toolkit. Okay, and this one is a teen book. It's called Zen Teen, 40 Ways to Stay Calm When Life Gets Stressful by Tanya Carroll Richardson. I really like this one. It's got, even though it says it's for teens, it's really for anyone who's dealing with anxiety and stress. There's some really good tips in here about from using aromatherapy, starting a self-awareness journal, to giving yourself a break, to how to create space for yourself, and just all kinds of things. There's stuff from vision boards in here to just being present and being in the moment and mindfulness stuff. And it's really good. It's great. I think it's a great book for teens, but I also think it's a great book for adults. Okay. The next book is called Be Mighty, A Woman's Guide to Liberating from Anxiety, Worry, and Stress Using Mindfulness and Acceptance by Jill A. Stoddard. This is one I've only kind of flipped through. I haven't really read this one. So far, I like it. I like some of the tips she's given, the kind of exercises she's given, a lot of stuff about mindfulness in here, a lot of stuff about stress specifically. So I think it's a good one to check out if you are dealing with anxiety and stress. Oh, here's another one. This one's more for teens and tweens, but again, I think it's something that'll work for anyone. It's called Creative Coping Skills for Teens and Tweens, Activities for Self-Care and Emotional Support, including art, yoga, and mindfulness. And this one has a lot of activities in it, and I really liked just the really kind of really just practical examples of stuff to do. Sometimes some of these books are more like, find your path, figure out what matters to you, and this has some really practical advice, like, hey, try. This is exactly how these are all the ways to meditate. Do a random act of kindness. Get outdoors. Doing different coloring activities, self-care planning activities. I mean, I really like this book. I found a lot of really fun activities in this one, so I really recommend it. So those are the books that are more on mental health and anxiety and stress. And I have some more books that are in a different category in just a second. Okay, so here are some more books. These ones are more for specifically about self-care, specifically about like finding joy and happiness, and different kinds of ways to do that. So the first one is a fairly new book. It's called Bread Therapy, The Mindful Art of Baking Bread by Pauline Beaumont. This one, it just talks about how something like baking, especially baking bread, which I think a lot of people did last year. A lot of people made sourdough bread last year. And how it's just a really therapeutic way to calm yourself, to get out of your head, to learn a new craft, and all the ways that baking bread and making bread specifically have an effect on your psyche and your emotional state. So Bread Therapy is a really good one. This one is called The Dance Cure, The Surprising Science to Being Smarter, Stronger, Happier by Dr. Peter Lovett. This one talks about how dance is just a way to make yourself happier. It's all about how movement is a great type of therapy. There's some really good, simple kinds of dances to do. It talks about kind of the history of dance as a prescription for solving social conflict. I really like this one. I really love to just, sometimes dancing, I think, makes me feel happy. Even if it's just dancing, kind of swaying back and forth in a chair or bopping back and forth to a song. Dancing is a really great way to take care of your mental health. So The Dance Cure, I think, is a really good book. All right. This one is called Wherever You Go, A Guide to Mindful, Sustainable, and Life-Changing Travel. So maybe it's not the best book to read right now because we're not all traveling that much, but in the future when we are able to travel safely again. This one's a really good one. It just talks about how traveling can have a really great impact on your overall emotional and mental health. And as someone who didn't start traveling until 2014, I'd never been on a plane before 2014. I'd never really traveled all that much before 2014. And I suddenly decided, hey, I'm going to take an entire month off and I'm going to go to Europe by myself and backpack around Europe all by myself. It was terrifying. It was exhilarating. I learned so much about myself. And it was a really fantastic experience. So any books about how travel can help your emotional health, I think, are great. So this is a really good book. It's by Daniel Houghton. All right, this one's more about just happiness and positivity. It's called Good Morning, Good Night, Little Pep Talks for Me and You by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And this just took a lot of Lin-Manuel Miranda's tweets. Lin-Manuel Miranda, of course, is famous for the Broadway musical Hamilton. But he has some really great, it's just mostly tweets he did with illustrations. Illustrations that are really cute. Cute illustrations and just like positive affirmations and little sayings to make you feel better. So it's just still a fun little book to give you some good little pep talks. All right. This one is called The Extremely Busy Woman's Guide to Self-Care, Do Less, Achieve More, and Live the Life You Want by Suzanne Falter. I've only really kind of flipped through this one, but I do like the kind of little activities it's got in here. It's got a lot of different, like, hey, sit down and answer these questions kind of things, which I think workbooks like this are a good way to just kind of do some self-examination. So I do really like this one so far. Okay, this one's called Be Happy, 35 Powerful Methods for Personal Growth and Well-Being by Dr. Rebecca Ray. This one's good so far. I like just how simple it is. Sometimes I do think it's a little too simplistic. Choosing gratitude, choosing joy. Okay, I don't know that that's super helpful, but then it'll have stuff like dealing with procrastination, dealing with crises, dealing with pain, making big decisions. So I did end up actually really liking this one. At first I was like, I don't know, one of those be happy, just find your inner joy kind of books. I don't know. But I did end up liking this one. Okay, the next one is called Joyful, The Surprising Power of Ordinary Things to Create Extraordinary Happiness by Ingrid Fettel-Lee. And this one is just about, like what it says, it's just finding normal, everyday things that bring you joy. I think a lot of books, like the one I just mentioned, are all about, like, finding your inner joy and finding things within you to make you happy, but I don't think it's talked about enough that there's a bunch of outside factors that can improve your mental health and make you feel better. Silly things like binging a whole season of a show that makes you happy. I talked in my last video about how I love gummy bears, and I think it's hilarious to take 2 gummy bears and make them kiss and make a kissing sound. It's stupid, but it makes me happy. Like, there's, finding, like, painting your bedroom a color that you love because that just makes you happy. There's a lot of things, simple things that we can do to just bring us joy, and I think this book does a really good job of examining that. So that's a good book. Okay, and this one is called Love Your Body, Feed Your Soul, Self-Care Rituals and Recipes for Your Inner Goddess by Summer Sanders. This one has a lot of, like, actual recipes for, like, smoothies and soups and just stuff. It's more, I think, on the realm of, like, cooking and baking, but that can be a really important part of self-care. Some people really find cooking, baking, really relaxing and really a way to focus. And so I actually liked a lot of these recipes. I haven't tried any of them yet, but I have really liked the book so far. So there you go. And so I have a couple more categories of books, and I'll just grab those in just a second. Okay, so here are a few books that are specifically about your body and breathing and pain management. The first one is called Trigger Points, A Little Book of Self-Care, Using the Power of Touch to Live Life Pain-Free by Amanda Oswald. This one has some really interesting massages and techniques for dealing with pain and stress. I've looked at this and I've been like, wow, that that does really help. For me, one thing I do every night before I go to bed is I massage my neck and my shoulders specifically. I have a lot of tension and pain there. And I do that every evening before bed, and it's really relaxing. But I didn't realize that there are other ways I can be doing it. And so I'm going to be trying a lot of these. And I actually really like this book. I love the illustrations. I really like how everything's kind of laid out. So here's one I recommend if you suffer from pain or you want to just try some different massage techniques. So here's another book, same, I think it's the same publishing company. It's a little book of self-care, breathwork. Use the power of breath to energize your body and focus your mind by Natalia Westmacott Brown. So this is all about breathing and breathing techniques. There's some good ones in here. In my last self-care video, I specifically went through a few breathing techniques, but this one has several more, and especially ones to do in certain situations, which I thought was actually really helpful. So I really enjoyed this book. And the last one in this section is called Complete Massage, All the Techniques, Disciplines, and Skills You Need to Massage for Wellness. And this one has really great pictures of how to do the massages. I find that books about massage aren't usually as helpful as like going on YouTube and watching videos about them. But this book actually had some really good ones. Some really good ones that I thought, oh, that looks like it would feel really good. So, Complete Massage. Check it out. Okay, so I have one more category of books, and let me grab those. Okay, so the last section of books is all about nature and how nature and being in nature can really help give you really help your emotional and mental health, and really calm and relax you. So I've got several books here actually about forest therapy, which is essentially what I can gather is walking in nature and being in nature and experiencing nature. The first one is called The Secret Therapy of Trees, Harness the Healing Energy of Forest Bathing and Natural Landscapes. Forest bathing, again, is, from what I can gather, just walking in nature, experiencing nature, being kind of in the moment in nature. And this one's really good. It has a lot of good just kind of like tips for breathing and walking and being in nature. I actually really liked it. So The Secret Therapy of Trees, and that's by Marco Mancalgi and Marco Nieri. Okay. This one is called Forest Therapy, Seasonal Ways to Embrace Nature for a Happier You by Sarah Evans. And this one I found interesting because this one specifically goes through the different seasons. You know, it's not just, hey, you know, walking in fall and the leaves, because it's not always fall. Sometimes you live sometimes you might live in a place where you actually have 4 seasons and you can experience them all. And this goes through the different seasons and the different kind of ways to embrace and love nature during all those seasons. So I actually really liked this one. Okay, and this one's another one about forest therapy and forest bathing. It's called Forest Bathing, How Trees Can Help You Find Health and Happiness by Dr. Quinn Lee. I really liked this one. This is actually my favorite forest therapy one. It has great pictures and a really interesting font, and it just talks about how walking in forests can improve your mood, all the different ways it can relax and calm you. I really liked this book, so check it out. All right, this one is called A Walk in the Wood, Meditations on Mindfulness with a Bear Named Pooh by Dr. Joseph Parent and Nancy Parent. I love this book. It is all about using quotes and instances from the Winnie the Pooh books to practice mindfulness. It's got great quotes from Winnie the Pooh, and the illustrations are like from Winnie the Pooh. One of them is in the Exploring Your Senses chapter. It says, "Today I will be the best friend I can be to everything I see, including the bees. Isn't it funny that I could get honey with nothing in mind but just being kind?" I mean, it's maybe a little silly, it's maybe simplistic, but I love Winnie the Pooh, and I love Winnie the Pooh quotes, and using Winnie the Pooh quotes to help you experience nature and practice meditation and mindfulness is great. So I loved this book, A Walk in the Wood. Okay, this one is actually a children's book called Slow Down, 50 Mindful Moments in Nature. And this one just has different moments and really great illustrations about just walking and being in nature, how to experience nature, how to focus on nature. And it's a really good one for kids and adults. All right, my last book is called The Lonely Planet's Natural World, Forests, Rivers, Mountains, Coasts, and Deserts, How, When, and Where to Connect with Nature. It's got the Lonely Planet series. It's a great travel series. I love their books like this that have great photos and talk about all the places that I'd love to visit someday. And just, I love the photos and everything in here. So here's another really great one about walking and being in nature. Okay, so there you have it. Those are some of my favorite self-care books. I hope you find one that will inspire and help you with your self-care journey. I also have a few quotes about self-care that I'd like to run with you really quickly. The first is, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it is self-preservation, and that is an act of political warfare. You may have heard this one. It's been used a lot, but I really like it. It's from Audre Lorde. A lot of self-care kind of webinars have been using this quote, and I actually really like it. This one, speaking of Winnie the Pooh, is from Winnie the Pooh. It's a quote from Christopher Robin. It says, "Promise me you'll always remember you're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think." I love that quote. It's one of my favorite literary quotes. And I think it's important to remember all those things because they are true. And sometimes you need to really focus in on those words to help you get through the day. But I really love that quote. Here's another quote. It is from another character, another Disney character. It's from Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's Quasimodo says it. "Today is a good day to try." That's it. It's a simple little quote, and it's great. Because it's not about, hey, today I'm going to be something amazing. Hey, today's going to be wonderful. You know what? Today is a good day to try. That's it. To just try. I love quotes about just trying because it doesn't say you'll succeed, doesn't mean you'll succeed, but sometimes trying is really good. And sometimes, you know what? Today is a good day to try. So those are all the great quotes I have on self-care. I really enjoyed sharing all these books with you today. I think this is going to be the last self-care video that I do for a while. And I think this might be the last self-care video we have for a while. I'm not sure, but either way, I've really enjoyed doing this program with you. It's been one of my favorite things to do during the pandemic. So I hope some of these books will help you. I hope some of the other self-care videos have really inspired you and challenged you to start your self-care journey. So thanks, and get out there and walk in nature and take some time for yourself today. All right, bye.
So I realized after I finished filming the video that there actually were several more books about mental health that I wanted to recommend. So I'm going to do that now. So here are some books about mental health that I forgot to mention in the video. My bad. So the first book is Don't Call Me Crazy, 33 Voices Start the Conversation About Mental Health. And this is a really great teen nonfiction book. It's got a ton of essays from a ton of different people, some celebrities. I think Kristen Bell has an essay in here about their struggles with mental health and how they're doing. It's a really fantastic book. I highly recommend it. And then the second book here is called Laziness Does Not Exist by Devin Price. And this is a really great book that I just started reading, but essentially his thesis is that there are no really lazy people, and that if you are not able to do something or you don't feel like doing something, that there's usually a reason. And I actually really like it because sometimes I feel like, oh, I'm too lazy to get up and do this thing. But then after reading some of his book, I realized, well, there's a reason for that. Getting out of my chair takes a lot of effort. I suffer from chronic pain. Getting up when one of the few times I feel comfortable, which isn't very often, is a big deal for me. And so just calling myself lazy isn't necessarily very helpful. So I actually really like this book so far. And then the next book is called Life Inside My Mind. 31 authors share their personal struggles. And this is another book of essays from authors this time, sharing their struggles with mental health. And it's also a teen nonfiction book, but I have really enjoyed it so far. And the next book that I forgot to mention in the video is called Hyperbole and a Half, Unfortunate Situations, Flawed Coping Mechanisms, Mayhem, and Other Things That Happen by Ali Brosh. This is a really great book. She just wrote a sequel, I think, but this one is it's a great graphic novel about her struggles with mental health, and I believe she did a webcomic and then turned it into a book. But it's hilarious, it's really poignant, it's fantastic. And then another graphic novel that I also want to recommend is called It's Absolutely Fine, Life is Complicated, So I've Drawn It Instead by Ruby Elliott. And it's also a really funny one about the author's personal struggles with mental health and all kinds of other things, but it's really hilarious. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it.